Testing, testing. Can you guys hear me? I got a thumbs up. Thumbs up. All right. Still got a couple people trickling in. I know you guys have had a good roof con. Who's had a good roof con? Thank you. A little bit more volume. Who's had a good roof con? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Come on. Liven up. I know this is the last session of the day, but like, come on. I need some energy. I need some energy over there, back corner. Up, up, up. Woo! Let's go. Okay. I've got a topic for you guys today that I think is very impactful, especially for roofing business owners, roofing sales reps, roofing sales managers. And I've gone through this presentation a couple times now, and I've decided to slim it down and trim it down to only the meat and potatoes. That's the most important. And so I believe that this will be high impact and high value for you guys. We're going to be talking about the evolution from phone book to Google to AI, how homeowners find roofers today, and how they will in the future. I'm going to start with a thought experiment, and this involves all you guys in here, right? I want you to think about the last time you had to find a contractor for your home. And I'm not talking about one of your subs or a buddy of a buddy. I'm talking about a fresh new contractor, someone to do your kitchen, some electrician, HVAC, plumber, whatever. Think about that. Think about that time. And I want to ask, how did you find that contractor? Show of hands, how many of you guys found them while scrolling a social media ad? You got an ad, got one guy, two guys. How about, how many of you guys clicked into a bunch of different websites, compared about us pages, mission statements, put out contact forms, waited for an email back? How many people did this deep website comparison? One right there. How many of you guys took out your phone and just Googled the service and then picked one of the obvious ones that was at the top? Homeowners don't think differently than you guys, right? This is how people search today, right? This is what it looks like, right? Same thing I have up here. Someone types in roofer near me, roofer city, roofing contractor, or just roofer, and you have businesses who show up at the top with their reviews, with their photos, and most importantly, with a call button. They look through those and they choose one that looks obvious, and they tap the call button, and that's it, right? That is the current state of how homeowners are finding roofers. That's the end of my talk. Thank you. I kid. All right. So there is a big upcoming change. So that Google Maps has been dominant for the last 10 years, right? Uncontested champion of inbound search for the last 10 years. And for the first time, it looks like something is about to change. And it's already underway now. And that's what we're going to be going over today. To understand the future, you first need to understand the past, right? So I'm going to rewind for a second and take us back between 1980 and 2000. Who here was in business back then? Anyone? No seasoned vets. All right, no one remembers prior to the internet, right? But this is the phone book era, right? Here's some images, the big yellow page books. Half of the people in here have never even seen these before, right? You had, people would open the phone books, right? And you'd have just lists of roofers, sometimes dozens, 50, even 100 roofers in a big metro, right? And homeowners would open this up when they had a leak, when they had storm damage or whatever, and they would open this up and they would just kind of pick. Like they would just roll the dice, right? It's fine for contractors, but for homeowners, they had absolutely no way to really compare roofers to one another. At best, maybe they heard of the roofer before. Maybe they heard of your brand, or they saw a yard sign at some point, right? But in reality, it was kind of roll of the dice, and there were plenty of times that homeowners got screwed over back then from sloppy service because the good service providers could not separate themselves from the shoddy roofers, right? The internet helped to change that, right? The next era was the year 2000 to about 2015. I call this the website era. Now, far on the left here, I bet a lot more of you guys remember this, right? This is what Google used to look like. When someone typed in roofing contractor near me, you just got 10 website results. That was it, right? And people would click through those website results, and they would come to your website, right? And your website was incredibly important back then, and it got a lot of traffic. And this is when everyone paid so much attention to Google Analytics. You started getting these SEO agencies popping up and saying, we promise to get you to the top of Google. Like, how many of you guys have heard offers like that? We're going to get your website to the top of Google, right? Spam callers still do it, even if it's less relevant, right? And now this solved the primary problem that phone books introduced. It gave homeowners the opportunity, it gave them a way that they could compare roofers to one another, because they would go to these websites and they would comb through and do deep research, right? And you said that you've done this for the last contract. So some people still do, right, if they're serious. But they would compare certifications, they would compare years in business, right? They would compare photos. But this introduced a whole new problem. It's intense, right? Takes up a lot of time. I mean, I've had to replace like my HVAC, I've had plumbing issues, and I had to get roof coating all in the last like 3 months. I don't have time to be spending hours and hours and hours researching. I have a business to run, right? Well, some other people have business runs. Some people are just plain lazy, right? They don't want to spend all this time researching. And so finally, at about 2015, Google introduced a solution to that. And that is the Google Maps profile, right? What we were looking at earlier. And what they essentially did was they took the research away from the homeowner and said, we'll just do it for you. We're going to give you a short list. We're going to give you 3 roofers at the top. We'll give you the bare minimum of what you need to feel comfortable. Reviews, photos, and here's a call button. Right? Suddenly roofers, instead of being overwhelmed and asking themselves like, how do I compare, roofers to one another? I'm afraid of being scammed. I don't understand the intricacies of this profession, industry. It gave them 3 options. Now tell me, every single step here, every single era, Yellow Pages started out with 50 plus results, 100 plus results. It went to websites, 10 results. It went to Google Maps, 3 results. Every single time it gave them less choices. Why is less choices better? How can that be? 2 stats really drove this home for me. And these are updated as of 2025. 68% of searchers trust the top Google Maps result more than any other search result. Number 2, the average Google search for local home services lasts 76 seconds. So someone searches, they see what they need to see, and they make a decision and they request an estimate. When you put these 2 things together, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that Google Maps equals trust. They wouldn't make that decision if they didn't trust the result. And especially as Google over the last few years has really cracked down on fake reviews, right? They've been taking them down in swarms. Some of you guys have dealt with this. Some reviews that aren't even fake are being taken down, right? But the end state is that the homeowner is trusting what they're seeing. And so you show up in that top 3 of Google Maps, and you automatically, it's as if they've researched you for an hour. And this is where a lot of roofers, they don't fully understand what's happening here, because it's a completely different league than how typical roofing marketing works. And so think about door knocking, think about cold calling, think about paid ads, right? Social media ads, scrolling, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. Even buying leads. All of those methods are interruption-based. You're interrupting someone at their dinner table, right, to knock a door. You're interrupting someone when they're at work, calling them on their phone, right? You're interrupting someone when they're sitting on the porcelain throne, right, like scrolling social media. Like, you're interrupting them, right? They see your ad. That's an interruption. It's an unwelcome interruption. And I'm not saying it can't work. My company runs ads, right? They can work. It's just a lot harder, right? When someone searches roofer near me, that is not interruption-based. They're interrupting you. They're chasing you. They already know they need the service, right? They see the storm damage. They see the leak. They know they need a replacement because they're about to sell their home. They are high intent homeowners. They are inbound warm leads. And this is why search is so important. And it brings us to the question of, okay, in the here and now today, this is how homeowners search. 2025, they are using Google Maps in swarms as much as they ever had before. But the moment we get complacent is the moment we fall behind, right? We see the trends of the past. We saw us go from phone book. We saw us go through websites. We saw us go through Google Maps. What is the next era? And for the first time, we're seeing it come together. We're seeing it come to fruition. And I'm going to walk through that now. In order to understand, in order to predict where we're headed, in order to predict what comes next, you have to zoom out and understand what's actually happening, right? Homeowners are taking 4 main steps when they're picking a roofer, when they're searching. The first one is they're finding options, broad net, right? Wide net. Then they're doing research to understand and try to compare. They're finally shortlisting, right? They're shortlisting the final guys who they want to try to get estimates from, get price quotes from, and then ultimately they're making a decision. And now with phone books, I don't want to trash phone books because they did something valuable. Before phone books, everything was basically word of mouth, right? Phone books aggregated the options for homeowners. It showed them everything that they could choose, right? But then the homeowner had to do the research. The homeowner had to shortlist. The homeowner had to make the decision. Websites fixed the research. It gave them the means to research, right? Google Maps said, you don't need to research anymore. We did it for you. We will shortlist. You just have to pick from these 3, right? Just call these 3 roofers, compare some prices, and make your decision. I'll take questions at the end. In order to understand what comes next, you have to see the final step of this progression. Every single step went from broad to narrower. Every single step gave the homeowner a faster decision, a more decisive decision that they believed would be correct, that they trusted. Decisioning is the next frontier. Google Maps gives 3 or 4 options. The next era will give 1. And this might seem far off, but it's beginning now. And these shifts never happen as a hard cutoff. There's always a transition period. But it is beginning now. Make no doubts about it. This is the AI decision era. And here are some real-world examples from today, right? This is an obvious one. I don't know if you guys can see this, so I'll read it. Everyone knows about ChatGPT. Some of you guys hear AI, you just think of GPT, right? This search in GPT, find the best rated roofer near me who does metal roofs. GPT responds, retext roofing exteriors, pulls the reviews, talks about some examples of the reviews, and gives the phone number. And gives the phone number, gives the website link. And so what happened here, right? It referenced Google Maps. It went to Google Maps to find the information, but instead of giving you 3 results, it gave you 1. It gave the homeowner the ability to ask a very specific question. Metal roofs, that's a specific service. Top rated, that's a specific desire, right? Here's another example that just rolled out in the last couple months. Get competitive quotes. That wasn't here 3 months ago. That button right here. Roofer near me, now instead of clicking the call button on the Google Maps, you can click message up to 4 roofers, right? And what's going to come back? You put in your information, ask you a bunch of questions. You put in your information, it messages the roofers. The roofers give their quotes back, and guess what? They're going to go with the cheapest one. They're going to go with the lowest quote as long as their desires were fulfilled around quality, around what needs to get done. And now this one seems like science fiction. But I can assure you it is not. This is a plumbing search. This has just finished rolling out across plumbing, and Google has it shortlisted to begin rolling it out across roofers. That button right there, I know some of you can't see it. That button says, have AI check prices. If I tap that button and I walk through the prompts to give the details about my job, the details about my home, the details about Zip, etc., an AI robot will proceed to call the top-rated plumbers, in this case, in the area, and the plumber will get a phone call, and the phone call will say, "Hi, I'm a robot with Google, and I represent Sue Smith, who has this problem. Here are the specific details, specific address. I need a cost range. I need an estimate." And Sue Smith, within 30 minutes, will receive a rundown of the estimates of the top-rated roofers, I'm sorry, in this case, plumbers, for her specific job. And now she may choose to call that top guy or the lowest cost top guy, or she may just choose to book the inspection, book the job, whatever it may be. This is rolling out across home services, and roofing is coming up in 2026. And guys, AI is just getting started. GPT just went mainstream 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. I mean, we're in the very beginnings of this. But what do all of these things have in common? Every single one of these examples, these situations, they shorten the time it takes for the homeowner to make the final decision. They give one final recommendation. And now, will every homeowner go with that recommendation? No. But over time, as this gets better, many will. So this was a great thought exercise, right? Very academic. Here's the thing. We're not professors, right? We're business owners and salespeople, hungry capitalists. So the next question is, how will we win, right? How do we win? Or said more professionally, how do we position our companies to capture more demand right now and pull even further ahead as we enter the new era? I want to start with winning at Google Maps, because that is the here and now today. There's no use over planning for the future if you're going to bleed out today. So Google Maps. There are others who offer this service, right? Lots of SEO companies try to go broad. My belief, after working for 7 years on this exact question, how do you win at Google Maps, and after serving over 500 roofers across the country, I think it's simpler than people make it out. We call this the R6 map stacking method. We call it R6 because there are 6 main steps: relevance, reliability, reviews, real-world proof, responsiveness, recognition, and community. And now, this is not a Google Maps masterclass, and so I will not be going deep on each of these topics, but I'll give you the high-level summary of each, right? One sentence. Relevance. When the homeowner searches for the service, Google needs to know that you are the roofer, that you do these services, right? The bare basics they need to know. Reliability. Whenever your business shows up online, it needs to be consistent. It needs to be reliable information. It can't be conflicting. Reviews, you need high volume reviews, you need high quality reviews, and the review content matters, especially now with AI, right? And if these are legit reviews and they're really happy customers, then they should be giving details about their job, right? Details about the job that got done. That matters. Real world proof. When they see your Google business profile, we need real team members on real jobs with real branding. That's what inspires trust. That's what boosts Google Maps results. And responsiveness, which no SEO company is talking about. Google is tracking when someone taps that call button, how often do they bounce? How often is it that you just didn't pick up the phone? You didn't respond to their message. They keep on scrolling. They keep on going, right? Because Google wants to maximize the user experience. If they move on, they're going to stop ranking you at the top, right? And finally, recognition and community. You need to be prominent in your local community, across your zip, across your county. And that means being involved in business associations, charities, sports teams, etc., right? You need them talking about you, referencing you, and linking to you in a way that shows Google that you are prominent in the real world. You're not just some hack who's, hacking the system, trying to be at the top of Google and trick the algorithm, right? You're actually real. These are the 6 things that drive Google Maps today. Now, I know that there are other things that people will talk about. From our extensive testing, they don't matter. And we want to cut through the fluff and get straight to what actually works. And when you do this right, this is an example, right? Above all roofing professionals, if you start out on the far left, this says December 2024. Each of these dots has a number in it. The number corresponds with the Google Maps ranking. So on the far left, you see that this client, this roofer, started with basically 0 visibility, right? Their business location is in the center here. Even searching from within their own office, they showed up as number 15. After implementing R6, you can see that by February, right, a couple months later, they had finally cracked top 3, but quickly it accelerated from there. March, they're beginning to establish a top 3 territory, and by April, they were dominating their region. It's not rocket science. Easy to understand, sometimes hard to implement, but worth it. And so the next question is, okay, if we understand what it takes to win at Google Maps, how are we going to win moving into the future as we move into AI decisioning? We pull up these examples that we looked at earlier. They all build on top of Google Maps, and that's a very important thing to understand, right? GPT, pull the info from Maps. Cost estimates directly in Maps. AI price checks directly in Maps, right? They're looking at the top roofers from Maps, and they're simply taking the short list and then trying to narrow it down further. And so the 80% importance, 90% importance is still you have to show up in the short list. You have to show up in Google Maps to even have a chance to be in the big leagues, to even have a chance to be the one recommendation that these AI solutions recommend. And so this is not a brand new solution. You don't need to rip out a Google Maps strategy. You need to build on top of it. And after researching this and after testing it, the new method, again, is 80 to 90% similar to the old method, but with an addition, right? So we call this the R6-T map stacking and AI decisioning. And it's the same 6 we talked about earlier, but with one additional piece that's very important when it comes to these AI bots and their number 1 recommendation, and that's transparent pricing. And this is tough for some roofers, right? Because you guys are like, I need to talk to the homeowner. I need to get out there. I need a proper estimate. I need to get a guy on the roof. And I hear all that. I'm not arguing with it. But those who figure out how to give a more accurate price range, more transparently on their website without hiding behind a whole sales operation, right? Whole sales process. Those guys increasingly, not now as much, but increasingly over the next 2 years, 5 years, they will be the ones who are grabbing more and more traffic. And so we need to build on the 6 R's, and then we need to figure out how can we give some level of transparent pricing. That is how you're going to win in the AI future. My conclusion, guys, wrapping this up, bullet points. Homeowners will always push for easier, faster, more certain decisions. If you bet against that, you will fail because this is the core truth. They want easier, they want better. Google Maps has dominated for the last 10 years, but AI-driven decisions are the next frontier, and it's happening now. AI search is built on the exact same fundamentals as Google Maps, but instead of shortlisting 3 to 5 roofers and then letting the homeowner handle it from there, AI handpicks and recommends 1. And my final conclusion from all this, my prediction, my belief that I'm convicted in, is that I believe the roofing market and many others will consolidate over the next decade. I think if you go from giving homeowners many options and you continually give them fewer and fewer, and by the way, to benefit them, then the winners will win. And those who don't adapt, they won't die overnight, but they will fade slowly and they will lose visibility over time. That's what I've got for you guys. I'll take questions. Yes, sir. Yeah. So the question was basically, essentially, if we're all in the same region, and this is geographic based, then how can we all win? And the answer is you cannot, right? There will be a top 3 in a geographic area, and as we move into the AI era with AI-driven decisions, there will often be a top 1. The one thing I'll add on top of that is that many people think of this in terms of whole cities. They think of like, oh, who's number 1 roofer in Oklahoma City, right? It's not really like that. It's again, it's geographic based. It could be a half of a zip code, and if the population density is strong enough, you can get a lot of call volume from that. And so the best roofers that I see implementing these findings is they're dominating small subregions with a Google profile, and then they're opening new Google profiles, and they're duplicating that success across their metro. And so we have instances of like larger metros. We might have 3 or 4 clients that we work with around that metro, and they don't compete with each other because their grids, their geographic grids are completely separated, right? Does that answer your question, sir? All right. Any other questions, guys? All right, I've got a demo booking link here. If anyone's interested in working with us, we're not the only ones taking this on, right? I'm not going to stand here and say I'm the only one in the world. I do believe that we're the best at this point. I think we're the best when it comes to expanding maps and AI territories for roofers, and the end goal is to pump out high-dollar roofs that are inbound, warm, and ready to close. If you are interested, please scan this code. And for anyone who did the Super Bowl competition, right, the wait hold, side hold, we are going to be announcing the winner of the Super Bowl tickets in the main hall between 4 and 4:30 with RoofCon leadership. So I'm excited to see you guys there. Thank you.